On behalf of Akuno Sankofa Bay, you know what I'm saying? Jay, where you at? We're trying to help our people elevate. Hope. HOPE. We're giving them hope. We doing what we gotta do, you know? Every day, one step at a time, man. We gonna make it happen. Helping our people elevate. Yeah. Sometimes I practice focused thought and meditate. I'm trying to come with other ways to help our people elevate and seeking knowledge, make me levitate. The lifted mental state is what results from how we orchestrate. This for the family's sake. Let's self-reflect and self-evaluate. And every day, make sure the steps you take, you calculate. Receive a master's fate. I know I can't exist without the hate, but that's okay. I balance that with higher self today. Success is on this way, and after that, my flesh can pass away.
All right, so yeah, like I say, last class we discussed the fathers of the modern race paradigm, and I want to say I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I appreciate you brothers for giving me y'all time tonight. But we're gonna go into the fathers of the modern race paradigm part 2, the mistreatment in the Americas, and the fathers of African studies, and how it applies to us today. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna touch back on the first class, and then I'm gonna go into 3 different subjects: the mistreatment in the Americas, the fathers of African studies, and how it applies to us today. And I'm gonna tie everything into this one lesson. And so, like I said, last week we discussed the fathers of the modern race paradigm, and people will ask, well, how does that affect us in 2024? That was way back then. And so, after 339 years of denationalizing through conquest and social construct, due to the Nouvelle Division de la Terre, which was published in 1684 by Francis Bernier to present day, knowing that they gave us something negative and people try to turn it into a positive, that's like making the word ignorant mean genius.
And do you guys want to play
And
awesome?
I also want to touch on, hey, mute your mic if you don't mind, family.
Okay, and if you want, you can play too.
Okay, yeah, I also want to go into how the words color and race are used interchangeably for skin complexion. And so the origin of the legal construct of race as used in the United States policies is started by Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Also, the thought concept of what color is he, what color are they, what color is she, is also Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. They are recognized as the fathers of that thought concept. In Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, he said that he had a dream that our people should not be judged by the color of our skin. But color of our skin is a cover-up for the continuation of European conquest and colonization on the land of the Moors in North America. Then I also want to go back to the last class, we discussed the etymology dictionary and Black's Law dictionary, and we went over the words color. And I want to show y'all how they use the word color and race interchangeably. Go ahead. Okay. But I want to show y'all how these words are used interchangeably with its etymon and through its legal construct, due to Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. And so the etymology of color, it says right here, to hide or to conceal. Yeah, to hide or conceal, to cover up, to conceal. The covering of a color, which again, as it says, covers. And then you deal with the Black's Law dictionary of color. It is an appearance, semblance, or I apologize. It is an appearance, semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. And so again, to hide or to conceal, distinguished from that which is real. So the question should be, what are they hiding? What are they trying to conceal? Why are we the only people that have had so many different labels? Black, Negro, colored, Indian, African American, etc. Why are we the ones in 2024 fighting over identity? Whether we Hebrews, whether we Black Indians, whether we Moors. Well, that's Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach with the Nouvelle Division de la Terre. And then as you see right here where it says race in the Black's Law Dictionary, it says right in the beginning, a great division of mankind. And so the division, that's in Bernier's book, The Division of the Earth, a new division. But yeah, a division of mankind having in common certain distinguishing physical peculiarities constituting a comprehensive class appearing to be derived from a distinctive primitive source. And so my question I ask, nationality or race, which ones ties the people to protection of a nation and heritage right claims? Give y'all a couple examples of race and nationality. We start with the race. Again, that's Francois Bernier's ideology, Francois Bernier's concept. And so race would deal with black and white, which are the main two that they use, yellow, red, and brown. Nationalities, you have Moor, Chinese, Nigerian, French, German, Australian, Kenyan, Nigerian, etc., Brazilian, etc. Now, when you're dealing with contract laws, Brother King always talks about in that box where it says race, again, I want y'all to remember that's Francis, but anytime y'all see the word race or color, remember Francois Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Those are the fathers of that concept, or those concepts. But that box on the contract, when you fill out a job application, apartment application, any type of contract where it says race, what are the main two options? Black and white. That's Francois Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach's ideology. Now let's talk about the Brazilian census. Within the context of Brazilian census, these colors have very particular meanings, and citizens are asked to self-identify as one of the 5 races: Branco, Preto, Amarelo, and Indigena, which is pretty much white, black, yellow, brown, red. The same 5 Francois Bernier, the census. So Brazil uses those same senses, those same color concepts. One could make the argument that while Branco, white, Preto, black, Amarillo, Asian, and Indigena, Native American, Pardo is better used as multiracial or mixed. These categories are descended from the colonial caste system and do not map American conceptualization of race and ethnicity.
It sits on the desk, which is enough behind the remarkable volume you now put.
Okay, right here. There has been a considerable argument in the 19th century and since over the nature of these races. The most common view has been to see races as distinct types. So you have the Caucasian race. They're described as lighter skin, blue eyes, possessing fine sandy hair, fine bridge nose, thin lips, and so on. You have what's called the Negro type, dark brown of skin, brown-eyed, with tightly curled black hair, a broad flat nose, thick lips, and so on. Then you have the Asian types, and so forth. The most important thing about races was the boundaries between them. If races were poor or had once been, and if one were a member of the race at the top, then it was essential to maintain the boundaries that define one's superiority to keep people from the lower classes, lower categories from slipping surreptitiously upward. Let me reread that. The most important thing about races was the boundaries between them. If races were pure or had once been, and if one were a member of the races at the top, then it is essential to maintain the boundaries that defines one's superiority, to keep people from the lower categories from slipping superstitiously upward. Hence, U.S. laws took pains to define who was in which racial category. And so as you see, in today's time, so-called whites, if you're in that so-called white status, then you're at the top of the food chain. You're supposed to be at the top of the chain. So-called blacks, they keep us at the bottom. This is the Francois Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach's thinking. So as I said, how does it apply to us today? 339 years after the Nouvelle Division de la Terre, it still applies in 2024. I want to go into race as a social construct. Race, then, is a primary social construct. It has been constructed in different ways, in different types and places. In 1870, the U.S. Bureau of Census divided up the American population into races: white, colored, white, let me reread that. White, colored is in blacks, colored is in mulattoes, Chinese and Indians. The U.S. Department of Interior, 1872, page 606 to 609, is where y'all can find that source right there. The United States Department of Interior of 1872, pages 606 to 609. In 1950, the census categories reflected a different social understanding: white, black, and other. By 1980, the census categories reflected the ethnic blossoming of the previous 2 decades: white, black, Hispanic, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese, American Indian, Asian Indian, Hawaiian, Guamanian, Samoan, Eskimo, Inuit, and others. In England in 1981, the categories were quite different: white, West Indian, African, Arab, Turkish, Chinese, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan, and others, because of the socio-political landscape in England demanded different divisions. And y'all can find that in the Benton, 1983, pages 56 and 57. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Why is it said that East Asians have yellow skin? When did people start saying this? It was during the 18th century that Europeans started seeing Asians as yellow instead of white. Before this period, European explorers, navigators, and missionaries who visited the Far East usually described the skin color of Chinese, Japanese, or Korean people as white. And so before the 18th century, Chinese, Japanese, Korean people were all classified as white. Most systems of categorization divided humankind up into least red, yellow, black, and white, Native Americans, Asians, and Africans and Europeans. Whether Australian Aborigines, Bushmen, or various brown-skinned people, Polynesians, Malayans, for example, constituted separate races depending on who was doing the categorizing. And so again, these labels come from people that don't look like us, that had an agenda. And as I say right here at the end, for example, constituted separate races depending on who was doing the categorizing. And so the question is, who is black, who is white, or mixed race? How skin color, status, and nation shape racial classifications in Latin America? Comparative research on racial classifications has often turned to Latin America, where race is thought to be particularly fluid. Using national representative data from 2010 and 2012, America's Barometer Survey, the author examines patterns of self-identification and social and economic status. And let me reread that. Using national representative data from 2010 and 2012, America's Barometer Survey, the author examined patterns of self-identification and social economic status and race were found. Skin color predicts race closely in the Panama, but mostly in the Dominican Republic. Moreover, despite the dominant belief that money whitens, the author discovered the status polarized Brazil, mestizos Colombia, darkened Dominican Republic, or has no effect Panama. The result shows that race is both physical and cultural, with country variations in racial schema that reflect special historical and political trajectories. Throughout the Americas, the idea of race has commonly been used to make social distinction, especially regarding persons of African origins. In the present times, it is hard to define who is white and who is a person of color in Latin America, since there were whole generations with relatives from many different backgrounds. It is easier for many Latinos to define as whites. However, whoever has lighter skin and defines as black, whoever has darker skin, which turns the race concept into superficial. So I want to reread that again because I messed up, but I'm going to reread that. In the present times, it is hard to define who is white and who is a person of color in Latin America, since there were a whole generation with relatives from many different backgrounds. It is easier for Latinos to define as white whoever has lighter skin and to define as black whoever has darker skin, which turns the race concept into a superficial. And so, based on skin tone, What color is he? What color is she? Like I said earlier, based if you're lighter or you're darker. This is where the Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach ideologies have taken place in the Americas, North, Central, and South. Also in Latin America, people of color are more susceptible of police brutality, and those who have less Caucasian features are definitely most affected, which is called portada de cara, face cover in many Hispanic countries. And so, since the topic is about race and reclassification, were discussed, and we're going to go. I want to go over Franz Boas and Melville Herskovitz. Franz Boas and Melville Herskovitz, the anthropologists who created the field of African American studies and African studies in today's universities and institutions. They were the teachers of W.E. Du Bois, Zola Neale Hurston, and many others. Now, not only does the Black America out of Africa concept come from a white eugenist, Charles Darwin, but Black Americans' historically connections to the landmass presently known as Africa is based upon two Jews for the sole purpose of suppressing records of the so-called Black Americans' origins and indigenous history in the Americas, which academic institutions created by white supremacy. And so again, it's this out of Africa concept. Go back to Africa concept, but nobody ever said or told them to go back to Europe or go, you know what I mean? But let me go back into this. Franz Boas was a Jewish German-American anthropologist trained in Berlin, who eventually made his name as a professor at Columbia University in New York City, USA. His own lifelong experience with anti-Semitic prejudice and his research experiencing living among the Inuit and people of the Pacific Northwest led him to a uniquely progressive cultural relativism. He explicitly argued against the presumption that white European civilization was a benchmark against which to measure non-European societies, and insisted that environment and culture, rather than race, shape physical features and ways of thinking. Although he was not completely free of the prejudice of his time, his insight nevertheless inspired anthropologists like Margaret Mead and sociologists like W.E. Du Bois to see race as a construct rather than an essential fact. And so again, this concept of race and colored people is a social construct. It's not real. It's not human. Human beings cannot be crayon colors. The New York Times ran a full-page overview on Franz Boas' recently published The Mind of Primitive Man. The headline read, "Does the white race give the highest human type?" As a result of recent research, Professor Boas questions current beliefs in racial supremacy, makes a plea for the Negro, and tells strange facts in European immigration. The Times highlight Boas' research on how immigrants quickly became an American type, and underscored his arguments that there are no pure or superior races and that all can participate as citizens. And so just this little small part here tells you that Franz Boas was, even though he was still set in his ways, he was against kind of what they were doing, but they were also trying to make us citizens. It said, and all can participate as citizens. Melville Jean Herskovitz was born in Belafonte, Ohio on September 10, 1985. He grew up in Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. Herskovitz turned to the study of anthropology in 1920 when he began graduate work from Columbia University under Franz Boas. In 1921, he received a master's degree and began his teaching career at Columbia. He continued to work with Boas and received his PhD in 1923 with the dissertation entitled "The Cattle Complex in East Africa." In addition to his work with Boas, Herskovitz studied at the New School for Social Research under Thornton Veblen. Among his colleagues and fellow students were Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, Elsie Close Parson, and Francis Shapiro, whom he married in Paris of July 12, 1924. Herskovitz moved to Northwestern in 1927 as an assistant professor of sociology, the only anthropologist in the department. He became an associate professor in 1931, a full professor in 1935, and presided over the creation of the Department of Anthropology, becoming its first chairman in 1938. In 1948, he established a program of African studies and became its first director. In 1961, Northwestern appointed Herskovitz to the chair of African Studies, the first such position in the United States. Herskovitz died in Evanston on February 25th, 1963. Herskovitz was also the author or influencer of general works. These include The Myth of Negro Past in 1941, in which he exploited pervasive racial myths, The Economic Life of Primitive People in 1940, still considered a basic text in economic anthropology, and Man and His Works in 1948, a classic text in cultural anthropology. Three of Herskovitz's last books, Continuity and Change in African Culture in 1959, Economic Transition in Africa in 1964, and The Human Factor in Changing Africa in 1962, reflect both the rapid developments of Africa's place in the world and increased academic interest in African studies. He was a central figure in the organization of the First International Congress of Africa. Hey, Quaz, will you mute your mic, please?
I can't say that. Yeah, pull up on.
Brother Quaz, mute your mic if you don't mind. He was a central figure in the organization of the First International Congress of Africanists held in Ghana in 1962. He also served in numerous adversary capacities to governments, including the Mayor's Committee of Race Relations in Chicago in 1945 and the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 1959 to 1960. So my question after reading all that is, if this is oppressing us, then what is the benefits of nationality? And so I wanted to give y'all the definition of nationality from the Black's Law Dictionary, which I should have put that in here, but it's right here. I got it in here. But nationality is the quality or character which arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or a state. It says nationality determines the political status of the individually, especially with the reverence of allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. And my source was the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. And I also wanted to bring up the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. One, it says everyone has a right to a nationality. And two, it says no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. And then you have the Declaration of Rights of a Child of 1959. And it says that the child shall be entitled to his birth, to a name and a nationality. And so, why the Moorish nationality or national identity? One, because it gives us the most leverage. Two, because it ties us back to the land. Three, because it says that we are the landlords over our estate. And I'm gonna pause right there because part 3 is coming soon on that. Why the Moorish nationality and national identity? But the floor is open. If anybody has any questions, anybody want to add anything, or you want to say anything, or
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, I agree with you. With the more it gives us the most leverage and the most power as nationality wise, and the reason why using that one because it'll set us free the most. It'll let us be ourselves, our natural born selves, in which peace be upon him. Prophet Noble Drew Ali used to always say, "Just be yourselves, Moors." But we can't be ourselves until we're free, and that nationality give us the power to be free.
That's it, indeed. I agree with you 1,000%. As the prophet, like you said, the prophet said, "Yeah, just be yourself." And if you have study, Moors. If you have any questions, study yourself. Be yourself. I mean, how can you unlock these keys, or how can you unlock these doors without doing the research and finding out the truth? I also want to.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I know you mentioned that we're tied to the land. Do you know what, under the Constitution, what title like basically says that we're tied to the land?
The treaties. I wouldn't say the Constitution. I would say the treaties ties to the land. You have, let me, Because I should have a better answer for you. I don't have a full answer for you, and I apologize for that. But I do know that the treaty is what ties us to the land.
Let me clarify that. Let me clarify that. All right. The United States Constitution is a foreign document. It's not ours. So to refer to the United States Constitution as to take a position of, is it in the United States Constitution that says it ties us to the land? That's a foreign document. That's for the British subjects, those who fought against their mother, the crown. By its construction, it maintains the Spanish, French, English, Dutch interests on our land that they've gained through conquest and colonization. So
right, but I thought sorry to cut you off, but just while you're there though, I thought we had an original constitution, right? The Republic, before they ratified it and created their own. Didn't we have a constitution already in place?
But your question,
yeah.
Let's stay on your question though. No, that's that's all right. One. That's another question. That's another question. Let's stay on your question though. You all right. You asked a question relative to, you said the Constitution. Well, you're talking about the United States Constitution. Let me clear up there. When you said the Constitution, where in the Constitution, this is your question, where in the Constitution that it states that we're tied to the land? Were you talking about the United States Constitution?
Right. So
I'm not asking you. No, just slow it down.
Oh, okay.
I asked you a question. Were you talking about the United States Constitution? I can't. You're the only one in the world that can answer the question. You're the only one in the entire world that can answer this question. No one in the entire world can answer the question. Only one person in the world can answer the question. When you said the Constitution, what that Constitution, does the Constitution, you asked the question, does the Constitution mention that we're tied to the land? I asked you this question. Do you referring to the United States Constitution? You're the only one in the world that can answer the question. I'm asking you a question. Were you referring? No, please. I need you to answer the question. You're the only one in the world.
Before. Yeah.
But you asked a question. It's already on the floor. The question's already on the floor. So the question's on the floor already. I need you.
I know, but with the question, so I'm trying to clarify the question, because from my understanding, and I can be wrong, right, that I maybe from my research or whatever, I thought that there was two constitutions, right? One that we had originally created, and then the colonizers usurped it and created their own. So I'm talking about the original Constitution.
All right.
Right, the Constitution from the Moors, right? I think it was prior to Lincoln, or maybe around, when Lincoln was president, right? That Constitution where it was tied to the Moors that tied us to the land. And I could be wrong, right? Because I'm learning, right? Because the information is scattered everywhere. So I'm just trying to get clarity.
All right. Can you produce that Constitution? Can you produce that into evidence? Wait, the person where you heard that from. Let me slow it down, sister, please. This is for everybody. I'm going to slow it down. Whoever you heard that, wherever you heard that from, who heard that from, what you just said, you got that from somewhere. Did the person produce the evidence that they produced that Constitution?
So it was, so let me let you know where I got the information from. So it was a talking point by Taj, and I can be wrong, maybe I heard it incorrectly, where he said it was in one of the titles. I don't know if it was Title 1 or it was one of the titles, right, within the Constitution that tied us back to the land, whereas land can't be bought and sold.
All right. Produce that into evidence. Did he produce, did he give you did he tell you where to find it? Did he tell you where to find the instrument, where to look it up, where you
what I'm saying to you,
our sister, this is a yes or no. This is a yes or no, sister. Please.
The question is, the answer is no. No.
All right. That's all. Just trying to, I don't want to rush through anything. I want to rush through everything. I want to just stick, because it's too much he said, she said. So I'm asking for whoever you got it from, did they produce the evidence that you can actually go look it up and see it for yourself?
So what he did, and I wouldn't say he did not produce it. What I would say is that he was just having a general conversation, but I would assume that if I went to go look for that information, I would probably find it. But he did bring up the particular title that I can look into. I don't have it on top of my head right now. I would have to go back to the video screening to look at it. But he mentioned that that the land, right? Land cannot be bought or sold, and then obviously for obvious reasons, right? Because we're tied to the land, and because we're tied to the land by blood right, you can't sell your mother, right?
But so, sister, that's a different conversation. Let's slow this down.
Is it?
No, it is. Yes. You first made the statement. Hear me out, sister. So you got to give me a chance. If I say it's a different conversation, then you have to give me a chance. You have to give me. I made a statement that's a different conversation. You have to give me a chance. All right. You first stated. You asked the question. This is for everybody, y'all. Please, this is for everybody. This is critical thinking. You asked the question, where in the Constitution, you didn't say what Constitution, you said where in the Constitution that states that we're tied to the land. That stay there. I want everybody to write that down. Please write that down. Write that down. Her question, where in the Constitution that states that we're tied to the land? Let's write that down, y'all. This is a teachable moment of critical thinking. So when someone makes that, you put that down, write it down or put it in your mind, right? Then you said a minute ago that the land can't be sold, all right? That's a different statement. You're right on that, but keep in mind that you asked the question, where in the Constitution that states that we're tied to the land? And I asked you what Constitution. You said somebody got it from someone. You said Taj, right? And that you also said that that if I go look it up, I'm sure it will be there. You made a statement or something you've never seen it before, but you made a statement, if I go look it up, I'm sure it's there. Sister, I'm not beating you up. Please, I'm not beating you up. This is for everybody. This is for everybody. I'm using this as a teachable moment for critical thinking and analysis. I'm not beating you up. I don't do that. This is for critical thinking and analysis. It's too much he or she said. That when we listen to someone, whoever it is, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm gonna use me. Listen to me. Listen for my claims. and then listen for if I support what evidence that I bring forth to support the claims, and if the evidence, does the evidence that I'm bringing forth actually supports the claim? Whatever my exhibits I bring forth, does it actually support the claim? So you have to keep my claim in mind. This is part of how to listen. Epistemology is a branch in philosophy of how one learns knowledge. It's a structured way of thinking. That something has to be learned. It's called epistemology. So you made a statement that if I go look it up, I'll sure it's there. How do you haven't looked it up? You mean if I go look it up in that Constitution, I'm sure it's there that states that we're tied to the land.
All right. So just for clarification, I mean, I didn't really go in that deep because he was reading those questions out loud. The gentleman, he was reading the questions out loud. So that's why I brought it up generally, right? And I just brought it up in a way to see if you can answer since you're more knowledgeable, right? I'm still in my learning phase, right? Where I'm soaking up the information. But yes, like I get my information from different sources. And because Taj is well respected and he's done his own research and he brought up the title for a reason. And the reason why I brought up the two different scenarios with being tied to the land and the land not being can't be bought and sold, which is, it's all still linear because if you're tied to the land, it would make sense why it can't be bought and sold, right? Because you're part and parcel to the land and not the Constitution. But I just, I know that he brought it up in he was just having a conversation. He brought it up. He told us the title. It's just I'm just talking out of my memory right now, and I don't have it in front of me. But if I was to go do research and would have to go look it up, I would get clarity on what it is, right? So, and because I'm not doing that right now, I don't have that knowledge. I just brought it up because there's people on here that's more knowledgeable than me, and so I just wanted clarification on that particular question.
Let me say this, sister. Yeah. I could take somebody off the street right now. I'm in Dunkin' Donuts. I could take someone off the street right now that doesn't know jack right now. And if the evidence is there, within a matter of minutes, all I have to do is show the evidence. All right. So now that you don't have to study long. It ain't no matter of study. I can take somebody off the street. It's not a matter of studying long, matter of studying for 10 minutes, not a matter of studying for 2 years. It's if the evidence is there, you show the evidence. I can take someone off the street right now, go right outside this Dunkin' Donuts right now. And if I say I make the claim and I show the evidence, that person can take the picture. They can take the picture of the evidence in 1 minute. 1 minute. It don't ain't take no 5 years. Doesn't take 1 year. Doesn't take a whole hour. They show the evidence. You take a picture of it and says, well, boom, boom, boom. Here's the evidence, right? Show it to your mom, your daughter, whoever, and say, nice. So it doesn't take all that. You don't have to study for 20 years, 10 years, or an hour. Take them off the street. Just show them the evidence.
Could I add something to this, Abdul?
Yes.
Okay. There's a particular art form to litigation that people got to understand when we're dealing with law. Law is placed into categories for a reason. And there is particular language within each category that you have to listen for to be able to identify so that you can critically think and assess, okay, this is where when they started saying certain things, for it's like treaty tied to the land, right? When we start talking about the Constitution tied to the land, even if you look inside the United States Constitution, it says that treaties is the law of the land. So it gives you a directive to say, well, let me start looking at treaties. And now let's look at Moore's treaties to determine what is the language in the treaties. What do they say in treaties? One of the words that they say in treaties is ceded. So you have to be familiar with that language in which they use in treaties. So when you start being able to assess this, you will be able to take the critical thinking elements and start going to the proper directives and making the proper assessments to derive what they call fact findings in law, dealing with treaties under international contracts to determine the two signatory parties, because somebody has to sign for it, either their agent or the principal in contract law. Either an agent can sign on behalf of the principal or the principal itself. Once you start understanding this language of this, it's a science. You will be able to identify these things and articulate in such a way where you can ensure that you lay down a proper claim by not only supporting it with an affidavit, because when we're dealing in contract law, the contract is giving you instructions on how to settle certain matters. And if it's unforeseen, and they'll tell you what venue you have to go to, and they can help you resolve it. But you have to understand law is placed into categories to be able to then put things in proper context so you will know what to look for. Do that make sense, family?
Yeah, so basically the answer to that question is the treaties. What ties us to the land is the treaties. And the treaties are the start of the contract which the United States of America is tied to, which is where the Constitution stems from. So now to go back.
That's incorrect. The treaties don't tie us to the land. The treaties don't tie us to the land. He's
excuse me. So let me make it clear. Let me make it clearer then. What I'm saying to you is not the treaty itself, the language within the treaty, right? The language within the treaty would then tie us to the land. Am I wrong in that analysis?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Oh,
let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Because he said ceded. He said ceded. He brought that up.
All right.
Okay,
All
go
right.
ahead.
All right. Let me explain ceded then. All right. Let me explain ceded. You're talking about a conquering power. A conquering power. All right. So you hit in an issue regarding our land. We have conquest and colonization. Conquering powers, France and Spain, the Dutch, Portugal, that have ceded, transferred our land to one another. All right. Great Britain, France extended French territorial sovereignty on our land through French conquest and colonization during the 1600s. Great Britain defeated France in the 7-Year War. France ceded, remember, that's a conquering power, France, a European foreign conquering power, France, ceded to another European foreign conquering power, Great Britain, our land, ceded a large portion of our land, Canada, all right, the Northwest Territory, and Great Britain made a deal with Spain, because Spain helped out Great Britain against France. Great Britain made a deal with Spain to have France cede the New England territory to Spain in 1762. But these are all European conquesting colonial powers, right? So, but that doesn't, remember, ceding it, another European conquering power ceding it doesn't give them ownership, blood right ties to the land. Their claim to the land is discovery claim, conquest. Their claim is not blood right claim to the land. No treaty in the world, I mean, a treaty between France and China, a treaty between France and China, that treaty does not give France title to China. Those treaties are between two foreign powers. So there's no treaty in the world that gives us rights to our land. The rights to our land is tied to our blood. We have a blood right claim to the land. No treaty gives us rights to the land. Because just follow me, sister. Please, everybody, follow me. Please follow me.
No, I'm following you, and thank you for clarifying this, because it now finally it makes sense now, because okay.
All right, so we can continue with the lesson, brother. All right.
That's it. That was everything.
I had a question about when you was talking about nationality. You had mentioned that everybody have a right to a name and nationality, and you also mentioned about also had a right to change the nationality. Can you explain that part a little bit, just in case, so people can understand that nationality, you really can't change your nationality, but you mentioned it, and I wanted you to go on about what you meant by that.
I mentioned it because that's what's written in the Declaration of Human Rights as part 1 and part 2. But part 1 is the most important. Everyone has a right to a nationality, and so I just wanted to bring up nationality.
Let me clarify that. All right, because it's there. It's there. That's a constructive fraud. United Nations Human Rights Proclamation, Article 15, Section 2 is a constructed fraud. The brother's correct. You cannot change your nationality. That means it's a constructed fraud. All right. The international community has interchanged nationality and citizenship as though they have the same origin, same meaning. This is part of the conquesting agenda. Article 15, Section 2 is a conquesting, colonization agenda to continue conquest and maintain control of the Aboriginal, autochthonous, native, original people of the world. It's a conquesting agenda. The brother's correct. You cannot change your bloodline. Let's talk nationality connection, ancestry, lineage, descent, national origin, pedigree, genealogy, parentage. You cannot change that. That's a constructive fraud. So it's there, but why is it there? It's a constructive fraud, right? So now they got that this whole concept of being born in somebody's land. Now you take on a nationality, but we have what's called just sanguinis. So that is a birthright stealing. So understand, in international law, modern international law policies, they are European conquesting colonial agendas. They do language. They've maintained through language so that they can maintain their control. They maintain their conquesting agenda due to United Nations. Language, that's what they've done. So that's one of the constructive frauds, all right? But keep in mind, the agenda is a conquesting colonization agenda. And as what did Quasi ask? One of the questions last night, one of the questions on Quasi's class, Tribe Agenda, is what other, besides guns, and a few other, there was two, that to be used as can be considered as weapons. And it was really good. And one of them was language. Language, the basic tool for the manipulation of reality, is the manipulation of words. Those who control the meaning of words, control the people who misuse them. Language, as one of the answers that was on last night, Tribe Ujima, all right, is used as a weapon against us. Constructive language, because language in its true sense, in its etymological, epistemological sense, can be used to free our people. The Europeans, through constructive language, through tampering it, creating constructive meaning, use language to maintain our oppression and conquest. So that's Article 3. Article 2, the brother, thank you, brother, for being, that's great. So now see how people are growing, how people are growing, because they're now being able to.
So Article 2 of what? Which
Article
and
15.
What?
Article 15, United Nations, 1948. 1948, United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 15.
Okay.
No one should be arbitrarily deprived of nationality. Everyone has a right to change the nationality. You cannot change your ancestry, lineage, descent, pedigree, national origin, descent, parentage. So understanding the foundation, you have nationality used in the consanguinity sense and nationality used in the political sense, but their connection, the foundation of nationality used in the political sense is the consanguinity. So because the nationality claim ties you to the land. It's what identifies who you are and that you have blood right claims to the land. No treaty gives you that.
Okay, and while we're still on that topic, in that case, Taj mentioned it as well, that we're not considered Black, but we're actually considered white under law.
All right. We're talking about, let's go to Egypt, Upper Egypt.
So status.
Upper Egypt, let's go to Upper Egypt. The white crown of Upper Egypt is called the Hedjet. Hedjet, the Hedjet. That is the upper crown, that's the royal sovereign crown of Upper Egypt. So it's white. It's white. The Pope is maintaining that power, wearing the mitre. He's maintaining the Pope and the Roman Caesar. That Pope has taken on the title of the Roman Caesar, and the seer collapsed as to one, claiming because now wearing that crown, the white crown of Upper Egypt, the head crown, he is in the position of the ruler of the world, and has the cross keys of Chaldea, which symbolizes the galactic cross, and the staff that has two intertwined snakes ascending to a pine cone. That represents right there the ruler of the world. They didn't establish anything. They traded places with us. They didn't establish anything. They didn't establish that order. They've traded places with us. So using our ancient seership principles and law and concept of divinity, they maintain world conquest and colonization for themselves.
Yeah, which is understood, and I understand the historical aspect of that. But I'm just saying, just like for today, if I was to go and fill in an application as a declared Moorish national, would I check off?
All right, let me answer today. All right, sister, all right, I want everybody to listen to her statement, her question, y'all. I want everybody to listen to her question, because I want y'all to listen to her question. Sister, this is a teachable moment, sister. I'm not attacking you. Please, I'm not attacking you.
No.
This is for a teachable moment. This is for a teachable moment, because we're going to face situations like this. And with the Europeans and our own people, they will make statements like that. Oh, well, that's historical. You know, I'm talking about, I went back 10,000 years. I went back 10,000 years. So they'll make statements. We're gonna hear this, y'all. We're gonna hear this. So she's good for us because we're gonna hear this. They're gonna say, oh, that's historical. All right. But for now, if I go to a job or an application, that's so as if what I said doesn't have any relevance to the day because it's 10,000 years ago in historical. And I'm saying that's how they play us. That's how
Still
they
got
played us,
power for
sister.
the day.
Right. So once again, the basic tool for the manipulation of reality is the manipulation of words. Those who control the meaning of words control the people who use them. As long as we're in that mindset, sister. But for the day, right? That's they constructed that. They constructed the language fraud, and that's how they're controlling us. So until we do a Sankofa, till we take the position of the Sankofa bird, where the head, the body is forward, position forward, and head backwards, and we stand on our traditions because they're doing it. They're standing on our tradition. They don't want you to do it. They don't want you to look back. But whereby that Pope wears your crown. He wears your crown. He uses the galactic cross.
I'm absolutely clear on the politics of what's going on now and in the past. I'm just saying, just for clarity, like I'm not.
You can put white on your status when you doing that. You can put white, but the thing about it, when somebody question you on it, you got to be able to back up your knowledge. Like when you go in there and like say my nationality is more and all that type of stuff.
No,
you just got to be able to back up what you. You just got to be able to back up what you are demonstrating in the physical reality.
Yeah, but I understand that. I understand that, brother. But what I'm saying to her, you're right. But what I'm saying, she made a statement.
Yes, sir.
All right. I hear you 100% correct. I'm not disputing that. I just want to go back to her statement. Yes, that's historical. So as if it being historical, because it's actually political. So it's actually being historical 10,000 years ago, as if she could not use that today. All right. This is where political structure comes in. All right. So what I'm saying is that we have to look back. So I still want you to analyze her statement about, well, that's historical. And I'm saying that our people will say that. Europeans will say that. I want to address that.
Yeah, that's trickery. That's trickery.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's more. No, hear me out, sister, please. Hear me out. The brother's correct, but the brother's correct. What I'm saying is we're going to face our people and Europeans that will make the statement that, oh, that's historical. The problem is, sister, we're working as individuals. We have to organize politically. So our weakness is individuals. So when you go as an individual, we have to organize politically. You have no power as an individual. You can put it down all you want.
No, and let me just make myself clear, because obviously these videos are recorded, right? And so for me, I'm sure of who I am, and I think I've been in this movement for the last couple of years. So there's no tricking me now, right? Like, you know, maybe 2 years ago, like when you were talking to me, I probably would have been confused, but I know I'm a moral-biased woman. I know that my blood tie is just like sanguineous. I know I'm starting to pick up on the language that I know to defend myself, right? So I'm absolutely clear on that. But, you know, as we have to understand though that there's people coming in at different levels. So sometimes, and I think with Abdullah and some of the more knowledgeable, you know, scholars, right? Like, you know, you've been in this for like 10, 20, 30 years, right? So we know harm that the colonists have done and that they continue to do. However, you know, sometimes the simplest to help break down information, maybe not for you, you know, but maybe just for the general population, is something as simple as don't check off black, check off white. And that might be your start, right?
Yeah,
Like the
because
beginning stages
That
of hold on,
yeah, because
of getting into the proper status
all right.
of who you are. Because black, and under the Black's Law Dictionary, is an object. It's a topography. It's something that was made up, their creation on paper.
I
Whereas
mean it's
white,
dead.
you
All
can
right,
defend it on a
you're
historical
missing my point,
context.
sister. You're missing my point. All right,
Oh,
sister, you're
okay.
missing my
Well,
point. All right, I hear what you're saying. You're missing my point, sister. You're talking as an individual. I get you. You're talking what to do as an individual. I'm talking government structure.
I understand that, but however,
Let me finish. All right, the point. All right, there's no however. You're doing it now because the individual approach has been emphasized over and over. The reason why I got 31 years, my 31st year, the reason why you're talking this like this as an individual, because the national political, until Shem Malachi Bey, I'm saying his name, until 5 years ago, nobody was talking statehood, no conscious more. No one was talking
For real.
statehood. National, no one was talking that. No one.
No one.
So everybody on this line was introduced to this movement from individual process. I get you, sister. So you're coming from a perspective of what, as an individual, I'm coming because we have to raise the bar. We got to push the national principle perspective. As a Moorish council, sister, I will continue at the conference coming up. We're not talking into nothing. We got the conference coming up. In order for you to rise, people on this call, we got to push the national principle. Otherwise, we'll not do it. It will never be done. It will never be achieved. I know you want something today. I get it, because the political structure, because the individual approach has been, that's what we're used to. And I'm saying that it doesn't take long. I'm not talking 10 years, I'm not talking 5 years, I'm not talking 3 years. So what I'm saying is that those people, all right, Quasi, Pocola, King, I'm gonna use King. When King, for 2 years, no, I know you hear King, I'm gonna use you as an example. King, did y'all see the Moorish Monday of last week? Not this past Monday, Moorish Monday of last week and Moorish Monday 2 weeks ago. King did a masterful job. King has been done paralegal work for 12 years. He's been studying with us. And King made me cry. What King did with his focus is talk the national principle. So you got King who's stepping to the plate and talking the national principle approach. And more of us are doing that. We got this upcoming conference. One thing I respect about Shem Malachi Bey, this man has never wavered on national principle government structure approach. He is never wavered, because what does Shem doing? What does he know? He knows from his own experience, personal experience and observation, that the individual approach that you're talking, sister, ain't gonna get us nowhere.
I'm not talking about an individual approach. I'm not. I don't know how you got that from that conversation. I think I was just trying to make myself clear and understanding what I think your approach is based on strategy. And I do agree with you that statehood has to be established for any level of governance, right? And I was just speaking to, because to get people to buy in to it would be anything, right? You would have to make it clear and understanding. And I understand that there's conscious Moors and there's unconscious Moors. And I guess I'm talking about the unconscious Moors and the approach to that. But my last talking point would be that to be able to successfully execute that nationhood, you're going to have to put in place strategies, right, that will then pull in people into governance, right, and what it means overall. And I think, a mission statement,
we have all that. We have all that, sister. We have all that, sister.
Right. So I
think you are talking individual. You are talking individual posts. You are talking individual posts. Yes, you are. When you say, I go check off. You didn't say a Moorish consul. You didn't say a Moorish consul, right? Whereby a Moorish consul with 500 of us, representing 5, 1,000, 2,000 of us through diplomatic channels. You're talking an individual. Let me just. I'm saying that how you're. I'm explaining how you're talking by principle. You're talking an individual approach when you say you sign off check. I'm saying a governmental approach is a Moorish king. Let's use king. King, the Moorish consul. King representing us, dealing with the legal status issue, whereby king, through duly appointed, through Moorish government structure, 10,000 of us. Through government channels, we would have reestablished diplomatic relations with the treaty nations through diplomatic channels. So king, through the central authority, United States Central Authority, king will contact representing all of us, all right? Where through United States Central Authority to address the legal fish issue, whereby we could also, we entering the international community. So I'm saying, when you say I do it, a Moorish consul would do it through diplomatic channels.
So, okay. So let me restate what you just said and my comprehension of what
brother.
you just said to
me. Good.
Okay. So what you're saying to me is, today, if I was to check off the box white instead of black, because we know that we've already ruled out being black is not a nationhood. It's just whatever creation that they created. However, if we did check off white as the individual, we couldn't do that because it doesn't offer any type of protection. And so something as immediate, something that we need to do immediately, which is dire, is creating that nationhood, that statehood, that then when we create that statehood, then we can help. Say if someone was to check off that box white, they would have a team, an army, someone behind them to be, if they need to defend themselves, to be able to do so. Am I correct?
No, sister. I'm not telling you not to do it. No, I'm not telling you not to do it. Do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow.
No, I'm just saying it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question.
Sister,
but listen,
sister, please. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer the question, sister.
Okay, go ahead.
On.
So what I'm saying is, do it tomorrow. That's fine. What I'm saying, I want the people to understand that your approach is still individual. I'm not saying don't do it. Do it, y'all, tomorrow. Do it, y'all. Do it. Check it off tomorrow. I just want to make it very clear, because we've been introduced to that approach to do it for ourselves. We've been introduced to the approach of sending it to the 7 agency by itself. Like, you send documents on your own to a foreign power. That is improper. I mean, a Moorish consul does it. A Moorish consul, because it's done through diplomatic channels. But we've been introduced and taught to send our own self, from our own personal address, sending the separate documents by itself. That is not done. That's not that is not a national principle approach. All right. So I'm saying do it tomorrow, sister, but I want to make it clear what I'm saying. It's an individual approach. It is not national principle. And I'm saying but that what we've been doing for the past 5 years is teaching these proper concepts. Has gone a long way. Let me finish. Give me 3 more minutes. We have an educational structure. I've sat down with Shem countless hours to build curriculum after curriculum after curriculum after curriculum that we have offered. We have paid classes, all right? So we have free classes on our Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We have the Shem Mordecai base plan. He already has, we have documents in place, right? That has to be approved through an intergovernmental council, right? Whereby various government structures come together, all right, under intergovernmental process where they approve the document. There's stuff already done. So we have the upcoming conference. We are building and connecting with more and more people. So look at this. Those who are online with us have been with us for a while. They have grown in this understanding. I had to come out of that. 25 years of misconception. So I'm now able to come on the line. Look at what King. Listen. King did a masterful job. A masterful job. I've seen tremendous growth in King, where he's put the emphasis on government structure. So let's move on. Let's move on.
I saw that one of the brothers had a question.
Thank
brother.
y'all.
Go ahead.
I was just giving thanks.
Islam. Okay. Yeah, I seen one of the brothers had a question. I believe Brother Dupois had a question, if I'm saying it correctly. Somebody had their hand raised earlier.
Yeah, I had my hand raised. I was just going to get into what she was trying to say, and Abdullah went ahead and summed it up. You know, we can't do this on an individual level. I don't care how many documents of their documents you submit to them. It's not going to work for us. So we have to submit our own documents to them through our consul to end that. Because I don't care what you put on their paperwork.
I had to cut the camera.
They still going to look at you one way. So we got to stop that madness. We got to stop it. And I've been for a while. It's not working. So we got to do it this way. And this is the only way to do this.
And it's not going to work that way. It was designed not to work that way. Allah purposely made it like that for a reason, so we'll come together as a collective. It's like that for a reason. Everything that we've been doing is been taught the wrong way to be individually. But now with trying to go higher and go to this next level that we're supposed to be going to, we got to do everything with a collective conscience.
We have to move as a unit. We can't move as an individual person anymore. I don't care if individual person submit paperwork with I'm Jesus Christ. It's not gonna work. We have to do this at unity level, and that's the only way it's gonna work. With that, I yield the floor.
The ultimate expression of that unity will be a national government, Moorish government structure.
We already have it. We just need to practice it and live it and manifest it. It's already been created. We just need to realize who we are, know our identity, and stick to a national plan. Like that's everything. The Prophet already really done everything, and Islam already really done everything for us. We just got to go back into who we are and what we were.
Could I even add something? Through my studies, through reading their constitution, reading their information, they profoundly profess government. It's based on government structure. It's based on that. If you even read the Constitution, it tells you who can bring claims. Subjects cannot bring an individual claim.
Yep.
It's prohibited. These are tough. Y'all got to get familiar with terms and understand trigger language in contract law. A prohibition. They tell you it's a prohibition. That means it's an act that cannot be performed. So as a subject, you cannot even bring an individual claim, or you are already to presume to be under the jurisdiction of another because you don't have no government backing. presumption of law, assumption of law. Because governments speak to governments. And they have a hierarchy on how things are structured.
The American government is your government, and you are a walking government. You is the first form of a manifestation of a government. It's just that we just have to fully learn ourselves and fully learn our original teachings and laws. We are a walking government. The American government is our government. We just got to take back our power.
Brother, this is not our government, brother. We'll say that another time. This is not our government, but I can't let that stand. I won't go. All right. I have my video. All right. Go to the no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
No, I was about to say
no, we're not doing that, but I can't let that stand. I cannot let that stand. Go to the Telegram. Go to the for the love of Moors, and also for the Moroccan Post School of Government International Law Telegram page, and see the video, see the class that I did this past Thursday. The class I did Thursday of last week, that was part 1. I'm doing part 2, I think next week, the third Thursday. All right. So we're gonna move on. I'm not doing no back and forth. I just said go to the video. Just go to the video. But I just could not let that stand. That's all. Go to the video. Just go to my video.
Debate today because it's the Ramadan too, and I don't want to debate during the Ramadan.
Yeah, no, we just saying, just go to the video.
I would debate another time.
This is for everybody. Everybody, look at the video again. We've seen it. If you were in the live class, look at the video again. All right. I'm not done because that was only part 1. That's all right. So I'm gonna stop because I'm not back and forth. I just could not let that stand.
As I said, before we end, I want to say I thank y'all. We'll be doing this again. Oh, also, the video Abdullah was talking about, you can find it on my page if you want. I recorded it as well. But we'll be doing this again in 2 Thursdays from today. And we'll be working on part 3, why the Moorish nationality. So I want to say I thank y'all for joining us tonight. And I look forward to seeing y'all again on the next one.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right, bro. Peace.
Peace and love.
Peace, Islam.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Peace.